Okay, this is the quick test I did to use Crazytalk 8 to create custom facial animations in machinima videos. In my case, Red Faction Gorilla Remastered, using the Adobe Creative Suite to put it all together. The first step was to take a screen grab of my character of choice in the game, making sure that it was as front face on as possible to then bring into Crazytalk 8. First I brought it into Photoshop and cut around the edges. This time I didn't bother with the hair on top because it was quite time consuming and I figured it's not important for this demo. And then I put a green background on it which will help with comping it together afterwards. I then brought that image into Crazytalk 8 and mapped out all the different facial regions for animation. And then it was time to add some teeth, and I went for the braces option, which I thought was quite cute. We'll see if our voice actor has the ability to make that work. I may have to change it to regular teeth down the track. And next was to replace the eyes, and I went for as close to the original eyes in-game as possible, because not all of the shots that I use in this video are going to be used in Crazytalk 8, and so it needs to match as much as possible to the original footage. The next step is to bring in a waveform. I just recorded a line from our script myself, and it automatically decides what sort of mouth shape should be used based on the waveform. You can go back and tweak that. It has different expressions for all the different vowel sounds and consonant sounds. So when I'm going to do the final version with the proper voice actor, I'll go through and tweak all that. But I did find that in the most part, it did a pretty good job of doing the correct facial expression for the different sounds in the dialogue that I recorded. But I've been thinking. I've calculated the variables, I've taken everything into consideration. Current weather conditions, the seismic disturbances emitting from the anomaly itself, and of course the seasonal southern migration of the red-breasted loon, and I don't think that it could be humanly possible for you to do this any slower. So next, it's time to try and comp this all together with footage from the game. Try and replace the head of the character in the game with the new talking head that I've created. So I've taken some footage of our character in-game, face on, so it matches. And it's also important to record a background plate because I'm going to cut out the head from the original game footage. So I recorded a background plate which is just exactly the same camera angle but without the character in the shot. So the next step was just to cut out the head of the character in the game so that it can be replaced, and using that background plate that I recorded to replace where the head used to be. Now what I did notice is in the game there's a parameter called fog which you can switch on and off in the mod that I've got, and what that did unfortunately was add this horrible glow over the top of the shoulders in the character which isn't there in the background plate. So that meant I had to try and rotoscope around that to try and make that blend together better. So when I do this in future I'll certainly be turning that fog feature off so that there isn't any of this weird glow happening. And then to place the footage that I recorded from Crazytalk on the top of the game footage and try and line it up as best as possible. What I did notice was there was quite a significant lighting difference between the shot that I recorded of the close-up and the shot that I recorded of the wide. So I'll definitely be careful in future to make sure that I record both of those in the same lighting conditions. Otherwise I'll have to blend those shots together as I did with this one, which was a bit boring. I used key light to remove the green, which worked really well, and then cropped out all of the white. Unfortunately, because I recorded my close-up of my character so close, there wasn't enough room at the top for when the head moves up and down. It stretches the green texture that I placed as well, and you end up with these white triangles because it doesn't know what else to put there. So in future, I will not record so close, so there's a bit of extra material for Crazytalk Animator to work with, and I won't have to rotoscope around these white triangles that pop up every time the head bobs up and down. But I got around all that with a pretty simple mask in After Effects, masked around the neck and around the triangles, around the white. I then had to create another mask to try and blend the shoulders together, which was because of this lighting change, and that was just done with masking and feathering. Not too time consuming, but something I'd rather not have to do again. Another thing I encountered was in the game when your character is idle, they do sway back and forth from side to side, and so that meant that the body was moving from side to side but the head was remaining stationary. And I was able to resolve that pretty quickly by just motion tracking that movement in After Effects and then applying that same motion to the head so that the head and neck would move at the same rate as the body, and that was all pretty seamless. And that was it. Time to render, and this is the finished product. But I've been thinking. I've calculated the variables, I've taken everything into consideration. Current weather conditions, the seismic disturbances emitting from the anomaly itself, and of course the seasonal southern migration of the red-breasted loon, and I don't think that it could be humanly possible for you to do this any slower. It'll be interesting to see how this process holds up with some more dynamic camera angles, because of course in a film you're never going to have your characters always facing front on, so it'll be interesting to see if I can recreate this process with the head in different positions and the body in different positions. But so far Crazytalk seems to be able to handle those different sorts of postures, so I'm pretty positive that this should be able to work quite well. And that's it. All in all, this process didn't really take all that long. Did it all in maybe an hour or so. And I'm sure when it comes to applying these talking heads to all the different characters in my machinima films, that I'll be able to build up a library of templates, which will make it just a matter of applying tweaks to the facial animations to fit better with the dialogue that gets imported by the waveforms, and then exporting all those out, and then streamlining the process of comping so that it doesn't require so much rotoscoping. That's it from me. I'm certainly excited about the notion of being able to create custom facial animations in my machinima videos, and I think this is going to be a really good tool for us to use in our upcoming film. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm happy to say there's many more to come.